Ladies and gentlemen, today before us lies an exciting opportunity for growth and expansion. On behalf of the international business team, I would like to present to all of you a market with abundant promise for the future of Boston Pizza. Proudly, I present to you the wonderful nation of South Korea, a modern, high-tech country with a flourishing mixed economy and a market that lives for trends. A market in which several international corporations have already found astronomical success in, thanks to the open-mindedness of the nation's educated and hard-working population. To miss out on such a market, where the popularity of Western cuisine has never before been so strong, would be a shame to say the least. Before jumping into details, let us remind ourselves about our company. Having established itself as one of Canada's top dining brands, Boston Pizza has been around for over half a century, serving up smiles and good food. Operating as a unique hybrid of a family-friendly restaurant and sports bar under one roof since the 1960s, we've grown to 390 restaurants coast to coast in Canada, as well as a small number of restaurants in the United States and Mexico. Here at Boston Pizza, we value customer service and satisfaction, as well as making memories with the people we serve. We take pride in a creative, high-quality, and fun menu that's sure to please all the members of the family. Since our first location in Edmonton in 1964, we have been able to expand like wildfire across Canada thanks to the power of franchising our restaurants. In the more recent years, the focus has shifted to the greater North American market, with restaurants opening both in the States as well as Mexico at a steady, sustainable, and successful pace. Based upon the successes of our American and Mexican endeavors, as well as consistent revenue and growth for our brand over the past decade or two, further international expansion is something to consider as we look deeper into the future of our brand. As North American expansion speeds up, international expansion is feasible within the next decade or so to really ramp up diversification for our brand. Logically speaking, Asia offers tons of new markets with great potential for success. The purpose of this proposal is to provide a deep, comprehensive analysis into the economic, cultural, and political aspects related to a possible expansion of Boston Pizza into the appealing market of South Korea. It all boils down to understanding the market and what we must do to find success in this foreign nation, all of which we will break down within this presentation. First off, let's take a look at what South Korea is all about. Driven by innovation, technology, and design, this country possesses the 12th largest economy in the world. Similar to the United States, it is a mixed economy. Also, it is closer to a free market economy rather than a centrally planned economy. In this nation, it's all about the people. Hardworking, educated people who are graciously open to Western culture, tourists, and most of all, Western foods. These people have high income on average, a will to pay for more expensive goods, open-minded attitudes, and are incredibly connected through social networking. They enjoy the world's fastest internet connections and cellular data speeds. Social media is a huge part of the culture there, and it holds great power, something that our company should definitely keep in mind. Korean people eat out very frequently and enjoy Western food just as much as any other international nation. South Korea is the pinnacle of a modern, globalized, and high-tech economy. So, what does this country present for us as a company? To fully understand this, we must take a step back into time, the 1980s. In the 80s, the first Pizza Huts, McDonald's, and Burger Kings came into the South Korean market and were more than well received. The people there fell in love with the unique Western food options. Even my own mother, who is a young Korean teen in the 80s, lights up whenever she tells me about the first time she ever tried pizza at Pizza Hut. Western food chains took the South Korean fast food market by storm, and this trend has hardly slowed down some 40 years later. In today's day and age, pizza, pasta, burgers, and sandwiches, and many other Western foods remain extremely popular in South Korea. Chains like McDonald's, Burger King, Domino's, and Pizza Hut are just as, or if not more popular in South Korea as they are in the States and in Canada. The first thing that we must truly wrap our heads around is the normalized, extreme popularity and love that the South Koreans have for Western food. Moving on now, let's take a look at the country as a whole again. Fundamentally and economically, the country is fairly straightforward and not too different from Canada. South Korea is an East Asian country that has strong bilateral trade relations with both Canada and the US. Despite only being roughly the size of southern Ontario in terms of landmass, South Korea has a population of over 50 million people. The country is known for exporting goods like vehicles, ships, electrical equipment, machinery, and nuclear reactors. With the phenomenon of globalization, South Korea has seen increased Western influence in its country since the 1980s. The purchasing of foreign products are growing while the purchasing of domestic products are falling in the nation. The official language spoken there is Korean, while English is the second language. The capital city Seoul is 13 hours ahead of Canadian Eastern Standard Time and experiences climate and weather that is very similar to Canadian, or more specifically Toronto, standards. The currency used over there is South Korean won, a strong currency with good exchange rates. The low unemployment rate means that the economy is doing well, and both employers and workers are doing good. To add on to this, the low costs of overall labor and low minimum wage works to our advantage since it means that more people can be employed for less. Politically, the country is stable and under good leadership. As a company, there are no red flags or other causes for concern when it comes to the political aspects of this country. Now that we know a bit more about the country, let's discuss why this nation is ideal for our brand's first venture into the vast Asian market. It is important to avoid a common mistake in international expansion that has to do with spreading out the company too thin. We must establish a base in one country before entering the several other Asian markets that have potential for us. However, why should Korea be our base? Firstly, I'd like to talk about the positive business climate. We can take advantage of the established Korean business infrastructure to grow at a pace which is advantageous to us. The infrastructure there is modern, well-maintained, and well set up. Finding suppliers and places to set up restaurants will not be very difficult, as well as the overall transportation of everything. Boston Pizza can grow quickly enough to grow at strong rates, but also at a pace in which we can control, make adjustments, and measure our performance as a company in South Korea. The logistics will be easy to take care of while working in this country. All of this will help us to take full advantage of the South Korean market, which, as previously mentioned, is full of people willing to spend money. Eating out is incredibly frequent, and ordering delivery is even more so. South Koreans order delivery way more frequently than Canadians do, thanks to much lower delivery fees and much quicker delivery times and quality compared to other parts of the world. Approximately 90% of the South Korean population reported some frequency of eating out, not to mention the dense nature of South Korea, which should be taken advantage of. This means that large populations of people are close together, therefore accessing customers is very easy. This will make business easier for us as we can cut down on a lot of expenses since our restaurants will reach more people. A singular restaurant can cover hundreds or even thousands of people, so we must consider quality over quantity when it comes to our physical restaurants. Nicer restaurants in smaller numbers over a higher quantity of restaurants that don't stand out will work best in this country. Korea is a very modern and high-tech country in which people have high standards. Restaurants, and especially sit-down and eat places like Boston Pizza, need to stand out in terms of design and cleanliness in order to be successful. As a brand, our target market will consist of families, people of all ages, and all social classes. We will especially focus on younger people such as millennials as they enjoy trendy Western foods more compared to older generations. The motivation for domestic customers will come in the form of high-quality food at attractive prices, frequent and good deals on food, and modern, trendy restaurants that appeal to all people. Another reason to choose South Korea is, well, frankly, restaurants like Boston Pizza simply find great success in Korea. The type of food and atmosphere that we're known for will transfer very well into the Korean market. The people are already familiar with restaurants like us from our competition who are already established in the nation. We'll touch on them shortly. Also, another big competitive advantage of South Korea is the hardworking, diligent, and educated workforce. Koreans are inherently hard workers, and the culture overall has a get-things-done attitude deeply embedded in Korean culture, which explains the nation's unprecedented economic growth over the past 50 years. By and large, however, Korea is a great opportunity for large-scale expansion at a quick and measurable rate. Our brand is a good fit for the country because of how well we'll fit into the culture. The risks are low while the potential rewards are outstanding. Even financially speaking, expansion into South Korea is reasonable in terms of cost. Even government incentives exist that can help international companies cut down on some expenses, such as tax exemptions and government support for foreign investment. Being in a country where foreign investment is prioritized and encouraged will work to the advantage of our company as we expand into the nation. We've already made clear the love and popularity that the South Korean people have for Western foods. With the abundant popularity of pizza in South Korea, we have the potential of establishing our brand as a household name. Korean consumers are not loyal to specific brand names, although they like having brand name products and shopping and eating at brand name places. In the early stages, we must focus on building a connection and reputation with the Korean people. In South Korea, it is still common for businesses, and even larger ones, to distribute or put up flyers with promotions promotional material on them. This will help us stir up the word of mouth in the area, which is a really good way of starting to develop a good relationship with not only the customers, but the surrounding community as well. Overall friendly service and really emphasizing the importance of customer service with new hires will get people coming back. To add on, establishing social media presences on popular social media platforms such as Twitter and Instagram will bring great publicity to our Korean expansion, since the Korean people are so interconnected and enjoy the fastest internet in the world. The power of influencers and celebrity culture is not to be ignored when it comes to driving demand for products in South Korea. In Korea, these people hold great power and influence over their legions of followers. They have the power to set trends and lead their followers to try new things, so potential partnerships with celebrities and influencers could work greatly in our favor. It would be critical that Boston Pizza takes advantage of one of Korea's greatest competitive advantages, the world-class IT and communication infrastructure. High levels of e-commerce activity in Korea have resulted from lower tariffs and duties on various product categories placed by the government. Basically, what this means for us is that people are shopping and buying food online now more than ever. What this means is that it will be a crucial step for us to offer our food through Korea's biggest delivery services like Yogiyo, Baedal Minjok, and shuttle delivery, while simultaneously offering our own direct delivery service from each one of our restaurants. It must be noted that South Koreans have a higher standard when it comes to delivered food. How hot it is, how quickly it arrives, and even the quality of the packaging are all things that should be elevated to meet the standards of the Korean people. As a company, we must prioritize neat packaging solutions for all of our dishes that will keep them fresh and warm. The dense living in Korea means delivery trips are shorter on average, which is something to keep in mind as well. Tipping delivery drivers or charging extra fees for direct delivery by the restaurant are both things that do not exist in South Korea. Some amount of product customization is needed for our brand to fit right into the South Korean market. Pasta dishes, sandwiches, and chicken dishes are, for the most part, very similar in Korea compared to their Canadian counterparts. What is meant by this is that largely, the ingredients and methods of preparation used can stay the same for those menu items. Even when it comes to portions of these foods as well, Koreans consume and expect similar portions to Canadians and American people. Where things get very different is the pizza. As a brand, it is key to understand that what South Koreans expect from pizza are usually very different compared to traditional Western options. More unique toppings, sauces, and crusts must be introduced to compete with pizza chains already present in the country. These include Korean bulgogi, cream cheese crusts, and seafood toppings like scallops and shrimps. Toppings there are a lot more premium and high in quantity on pizzas, therefore pizzas can be sold at higher prices. Koreans love variety on their pizzas and have higher standards for quality. The pies there tend to be smaller overall, although the traditional small, medium, and large sizes are offered. To add on, greater options for side dishes should be offered, and pickled side dishes are a must, as Koreans like to cleanse their palates and combat the saltiness of Western cuisine with pickled side dishes such as regular pickled cucumbers, pickled jalapenos, and pickled radish. Koreans are not used to digesting large amounts of cheese, greasy foods, or butter all at once. Efforts should be made to combat this. New menu items should focus on creativity and quality while controlling and limiting the amount of grease, butter, and cheese being used in the food. Instead of trying to change the menu to have actual Korean dishes, as a company, we should try offering our Western menu with modified and new items that incorporate flavors similar to the Korean culture, such as sesame oil, chili pepper paste, ginger, garlic, and scallions. Menu items with the names of these ingredients are sure to attract Korean consumers. Western food options in South Korea tend to be priced very similarly, or if not higher, than in Canada and the US. High food quality should be offered at reasonable prices in order to appeal to the Korean market and to compete with established rivals in the country. The method of price penetration should be considered, in which we can offer foods at lower prices at modest margins to gain attention. This focuses on releasing lower priced products initially to grab as much market share as possible. To add on, although Korean people do enjoy high income and like to spend their money, they are very educated folks that will use their money wisely and conservatively. Koreans love deals and point systems, so coupons and frequent deals will serve to the benefit of the company. A well thought out and easy to understand point system with good benefits for consumers will attract Koreans who are willing to spend their money but also pay lots of attention to their spending. It is worth noting that recently, spending has slowed a little due to high levels of household debt and overall economic slowdown due to the COVID pandemic. However, this won't be an issue as spending is sure to go back up as the economy recovers. The first obvious challenge to consider is the language difference. Although English is the second language in Korea, doing business in this country, and especially in the tertiary industry, using the Korean language is a must. Most or all of the menu and promotional materials should be in Korean with minimal uses of English here and there. All restaurant services should be in Korean as well. Another difference to consider is how business is conducted overall. Things like negotiation styles, language, and style of dress and communication. To put it simply, most business is conducted similarly to business in Canada. Punctuality is important, negotiation should be done respectfully, and business higher-ups should dress professionally and conservatively. Authority is highly respected in Korea and rarely challenged. Competition comes from places like Domino's, Pizza Hut, and smaller local restaurants that offer Western foods. To differentiate ourselves from the competition, we must focus on the following things as we enter the market. First off, we must offer higher quality food so that our brand name becomes instantly associated with better tasting food compared to the competitors. Secondly, our restaurants must be designed in attractive, modern, and trendy fashions that also have an ambiance of comfort. Restaurants designed in this manner will attract people at higher rates and will also differentiate us from other aging restaurants. Cleanliness and modern design are highly valued by Koreans. To conclude, South Korea is a country in which Boston Pizza has tons of opportunity for success. When considering all the factors mentioned, such as how our brand will fit into a market where Western food is loved, the solid business infrastructure, and long list of competitive advantages to South Korea, it can be concluded that the Korean market presents great potential for our company with low risks of failure. As a brand looking to slowly diversify our markets, venturing out into international markets such as South Korea with great potential for success ensures prosperity in the long run for our beloved brand. Using our thorough and carefully considered market entrance strategy, Boston Pizza will become a household name in South Korea within the upcoming years through the implementation of our plans. Thank you for your time and consideration.